And now for the presentation.
Hello and happy new year.
Happy
2021.
2021.
Okay,
Yeah.
we were supposed to be on a little hiatus for the week, but with all of the events taking place at the Capitol, just thought we'd come on and talk about it. Um, for the show. It was quite a crazy day yesterday.
Yeah, to say the least. I think it was more insanity than anything else, as by the title of today's pop-up show. Normally we have our Tuesday community call in, but we want to take a hiatus. Chris the goat, he's just chilling somewhere. um I'm sure wants to put in his 2 cents if he pops up for the show. But we might not even be here for the full hour. We just wanted to see if anybody else had any comments about what's going on. um and that's about it. So I
Yeah,
don't
we
know.
just really wanted to look at this through a lens of, where was the black media in all of this yesterday? How did the rest of the world view America after seeing all the chaos at the Capitol, the insurrection as they're calling it, and you know, uh, as far as black media, are we it? The YouTubers who come to them live, pop up. I know I got my information from watching Yvette last night. She did a quick pop up on the subject. Michi X also talked about it, and Be the Power. And I just felt like I needed to be with family last night because it was, like I said, a wild day. So, with that, we do have a new president. So, let's see what President elect Joe Biden had to say um, about all the transgressions.
I call on this mob to pull back and allow the work of democracy to go forward. You've heard me say before in different contexts, the words of a president matter, no matter how good or bad that president is. At their best, the words of a president can inspire. At their worst, they can incite. And therefore, I call on President Trump to go on national television now to fulfill his oath and defend the Constitution and demand an end to this siege, to storm the Capitol, to smash windows, to occupy offices, the floor of the United States Senate, rummaging through desks, on the Capitol, on the House of Representatives, threatening the safety of duly elected officials. It's not protest, it's insurrection. The world's watching.
The world is watching.
The world is watching.
President
That
Joe.
statement is really what got me wanting to come on this show and do this quick pop up. My friend over in the UK, you've heard me talk about, he kind of started hitting me up like, "What the heck? What's going on?" Woo, 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 woo. And he was like, "The world is watching right now." So the world is watching. What do you think the world thinks of that display, yesterday's display? I mean, it was just white supremacy at its most privileged.
Yeah, I mean that's a very interesting point. I mean, one, I don't know at what point in time since 1776 the world hasn't watched the United States of America. And then two, yeah, I mean, it was just a whole big display of white racist supremacy. And the question that I asked, and I'm sure many journalists have asked, is if these were predominantly black people, ADOS people out there doing the exact same thing. But normally we actually have like you know uh, legal protest permits to go out there. But in their particular case, I'm not sure even if they had permits or not. um, but yeah, in terms of black people were out there, I think a lot of people and I don't know if anybody else agrees or not with this. Uh, Pretty much, we'd have been, you know, just ran over, uh, tasered, you know, gas, tear gas. I mean, so it would have just been off the chain. I mean, you saw after, George Floyd and, all the other Breonna Taylor, and when people were protests, I mean, the people were out there. This includes white people too, with the Black Lives Matter movement. We're just getting, ran over,
Yeah,
you
I
know.
saw a stat. I don't have any material on it, but just on the news, I saw a stat that they said 90 people were arrested at yesterday's incident, whereas 14,000 people were arrested during the BLM protest. Now, I know the BLM protest lasted all summer long and it was worldwide. So if you look at it in that context, but that seems very like, quite a big gap between arrests, 90 compared to 14,000.
Yep, in the good old uh, DC, capital of the United States of America.
All right. And let's take a look at what else was going on. Oh, President Trump came out and made a statement too. I don't know if you saw that. I just happened to be watching live when he came on and made his first statement. And he was telling them that he loved them and, I love you guys, but you need to settle down. It was really just a weak statement. And I think they ended up just washing it off the web. I couldn't find it anymore. And they suspended his Twitter accounts and his Instagram and his Facebook accounts. So he did come out and make a more of a diplomatic statement after that, but I think he just did it because he wanted his social media accounts back. Let's listen to about 30 seconds of what Trump had to say.
I would like to begin by addressing the heinous attack on the United States Capitol. Like all Americans, I am outraged by the violence, lawlessness, and mayhem. I immediately deployed the National Guard and federal law enforcement to secure the building and expel the intruders. America is and must always be a nation of law and order. The demonstrators who infiltrated the Capitol have defiled the seat of American democracy. To those who engaged in the acts of violence and destruction, you do not represent our country. And to those who broke the law, you will pay.
All right.
Yeah, it's
Promise to pay.
well, speaking of paying, he supposedly, if I'm correct, he already got impeached the first time. So I think they're trying to impeach him again
They are trying
before.
to invoke the 25th Amendment to impeach him and have Pence take over for the next 2 weeks. My personal opinion is that it's just a waste of time. I mean, we're only a couple of weeks out. How much money is this going to cost the taxpayers to go through this impeachment for, just 2 weeks? More of his presidency. What are your thoughts on that? Is it even worth it at this point, or is it just to make a statement?
I Who knows? Who knows what these people are thinking? I know it was said, and I can't remember what newscast I heard it from, but somebody was even thinking that if Pence was president for however long, that he could actually pardon Donald Trump. So there might be a plan in place and in store where you got one hand doing this and then you got the other hand doing the other, for his crimes that he's committed for these last 4 years. So that was kind of something that I heard out there that might be a possibility. And who knows? I mean, conspiracy theory might be that this whole thing with people storming the Capitol was all in an effort just to pardon Trump. Because it's been said that could could he pardon himself, and most likely no. I mean, through the Supreme Court, people like, no, we wouldn't. allow that to happen. But with Mike Pence, all he'd have to do is just say, "Yes, I pardon Trump." I mean, anything is possible.
Yeah, it looks like there's been some discussion on that. I just had a pop-up headline here that I'll read. Um, Trump prepares pardon list for aides and family, including Jared Kushner, Lil Wayne, Kodak Black, and maybe himself. Well, at least there's two ADOS in there that he's possibly planning on pardoning. So that's something, I guess.
Peace to Little Wayne and Kodak Black. Uh, yeah, it's gonna be interesting, to see what happens if they try to impeach him and invoke the 25th Amendment. Who knows?
We'll see. And as far as people paying, back here in July 27th, 2020, when we were going through BLM protests, he says anarchists, agitators, or protesters who vandalize or damage our federal courthouse in Portland or any federal buildings in any of our cities or states will be prosecuted under the recently reenacted Statues and Monuments Act. Minimum 10 years in prison, all capitals there. Don't do it.
Hmm.
So, the 90 arrests that happened yesterday, it sounds like they've got 10 years coming.
10 years in the slammer. Don't know what to tell them. I mean, look, to be on, I don't even know why people were there. It's just the most ridiculous things. I know black people, Ados, we've um, done so many things to protest in an effort for freedom and justice in this country. There's certain things that make sense, in indigenous, Native Americans, etc. That was like, okay, that makes sense because we've been subjugated, for 400 plus years. So we're gonna go ahead and try to, protest because it's our right to protest. What these people were doing just absolutely made no sense. And if I'm correct, there was a woman who actually got shot and killed. Now, I don't know who killed her. I don't know if it was law enforcement or if it was somebody else who was part of the, whole quote unquote lynch mob protest people, going into the White House, or I'm sorry, the Capitol. Um, I don't know, but I know one has been confirmed, but I've also heard that 3 additional people, so total 4 people, actually got shot and or actually killed. Let alone, I've heard some law enforcement actually are currently at the hospital. So, man, it was a whole debacle of what happened, and it made no sense.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of different reports, a lot of confusing or misleading reports. Let's see. Initially, they were saying that the officer died, but then later on, as I was doing this research, it says U.S. Capitol Police say no officers killed during insurrection in D.C. that left 4 people dead. So 4 people dead. That seems to be correct. But they're saying that in a statement, Capitol Police said media reports regarding the death of United States Police USCP officer are not accurate. Although some officers were injured and hospitalized yesterday, no USCP officers have passed away. On Wednesdays, authorities named former Air Force member Ashley Babbitt as the person who was shot by a member of law enforcement. So, yes, she was shot by law enforcement as she took part in the mob that stormed the U.S. Capitol. Metropolitan Police Department Chief Robert Connie also confirmed that 3 others died due to separate medical emergencies at as the Capitol was stormed. So I don't know what these medical emergencies were, but it does look like there were 4 fatalities and shooting at the hands of police. Another video that I'll just show really quickly here. I don't know if you've seen this one. Um, just to think about how this would have been differently. It's a black officer being accosted by a white mob. Let's take a look and see how it would have turned out if the tables were turned. Okay.
Wow. Yeah, and the crazy thing, man, is if I saw correctly, I think he did have a gun. The brother
It looked
shooting
like it.
from
I
the
mean, I
gun. He
couldn't
had a
really see
gun.
because I was looking at it on my phone last night, and I'm like, why is he picking up a stick? Is the bruh strapped? I mean, what's going on here? So that's your immediate thought. If
Man.
it was the tables were turned and it was a if it was even one black person and a white officer, you think it would have been a different scenario.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, I'm just shocked he just didn't like be like point and shoot. You know what I mean? But he didn't, you
And that
know?
would have been justified in your eyes?
Well, I mean, I don't know the law in terms of, the Capitol and when people come on to the Capitol. So I don't know, but I mean, if they're protecting, the politicians, their legislation, and legislators going on at that particular time, I guess so. I mean, obviously
I
you
mean,
have.
maybe it's just the respect that's instilled in black officers in treating white people. I found this little slide on Twitter. Meet the first black police officers of Atlanta who couldn't arrest white people or use guns. Maybe that some of that mentality still exists in our black officers when they're dealing with white people.
Yeah, and the question should be asked, if there were black people, would the brother done the same thing, or would he have shot some black people? You know what I mean? Like, regardless if the law enforcement is white or black, it's like, would they just pop gun, start shooting? you know, Black people in the house, we gonna start shooting. So yeah,
Mhm.
that's I don't know. That's a good question.
Well, let's see how the white officers interacted with the, we'll call them terrorists.
ACAF, 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 ACAF.
I don't
Were
even
they,
think
were, were they taking selfies?
they were taking selfies.
Did
Yeah,
they,
gotta document this occasion, right?
I guess they're gonna get some Burger King, afterwards, like they did with Dylan Roof. After he shot our peace out to the Ados family that got shot and killed out in the AME church in South Carolina a number of years ago. But yeah, that's nuts. What is going on? Crazy.
So it's a clear double standard, but what do you think that it's going to mean for ADOS moving forward? Do you think that this signifies the end of white supremacy? I mean, is this a tipping point where people will have to say, this is a clear double standard, something's got to be done about this, and We need to make things more equitable, or do you think that it's the next reconstruction is what it was looking like, last night as everything was going on? I'm like, oh, overthrowing the government, is this just the next reconstruction where they're going to take over? And
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, I know some people were hinting at a civil war, which is not going to happen. Um, but yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. I mean, with Joe Biden, coming into office, who knows what's going to happen? We don't know if these Trump supporters are going to try to light it up again, or if they're just going to go away like the dodo bird and never be heard again until Trump may pop his uh, head up again in 2020, whatever, the next time the election comes around. So we'll have to see. I really think that they're going to just go bye bye
you
once
think they're just
Trump
going
is
to
out.
go
Yeah, I
bye
think they're
bye?
gonna go bye-bye. So
And you mentioned civil war, but this really doesn't look like a black and white issue to me. It looks like an issue against the government. Do you think? Are you saying civil war just because historically, these white mobs have always come after black people? I mean, I was worried about the black officer at first, but it didn't look like they were doing anything to him. Back in the civil rights days, they probably would have snatched him up, took his gun, did all kinds of stuff. It just didn't seem like a black and white issue to me.
yeah, I mean, I think white racist supremacy is definitely on its end. I mean, we're just gonna have to see if the white allies are willing to step up, and make sure that, for future generations that we basically, as far as ADOS people, are going to need and rely on some of these other, white allies and, other people to make sure that, white racist supremacy doesn't rear its ugly head up again. But knowing America, it probably will.
Okay. And let's take a look. Speaking of blacks in the mainstream media, let's see what Joy Reid had to say on the topic.
In their minds, they own this country, they own that capital, they own the cops work for them, and people like me have no damn right to try to elect a president. Because we don't get to pick the president. They get to pick the president. They own the president. They own the White House. They own this country. And so when you think you own it, you own the place, you ain't afraid of the police because the police are you, and the police reflect back to them.
Do you agree with that statement?
I mean, I'll see how I can disagree with that. Like, yeah, I mean, what do you think?
So pretty spot on. So again, Joy Reid, she is, a black face in mainstream media, even though MSNBC obviously isn't a, a media organization that's owned by black people, but it, seems she's able to speak for the people. Speak out against white supremacy on a mainstream media channel. uh, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, look, I appreciate the effort, that some of these individuals who are um, not ADOS and they're not native blacks. We do appreciate that because, it is what it is. But we also need, more perspective from Black Americans, ADOS people who've endured this 400 years of oppression here in America. And I don't know, Kim, if you feel this way or not, but it just seems like it's pretty much like a lot of the social media platforms, news platforms like ours and Yvette's and Tones and others that are really really talking about it from a different perspective instead of just the mainstream. Um, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I'm thinking, that those different perspectives probably wouldn't be allowed on mainstream media, especially when you get into some like Michi X. Like I said, I listened to her last night, and she was seemed to be uh, enjoyed watching them storm the Capitol and kick their feet up and do everything that they did. I don't think that you'd be able to say something like that on a mainstream media channel. Um, but I mean, I think that this is it for our Black media is these YouTube channels right now, because we just don't have Black media out there. We didn't have any Black media out there covering um, the riots at the Capitol yesterday. Now, is that just because it's not our fight and this was between white people? That's why the white media should cover it, or is it because there are no Black media outlets that can, be boots on the ground at something like this?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a good question. How we really don't own in terms of like major news stations. We don't really own, anything. I mean, not enough to compete with the NBCs, the CBSs, MSNBCs, CNNs, etc. I mean, the closest we might have, and I haven't even checked for them in like a very long time, is TV1. But outside of that, it's mostly independent, news journalists who are out there, like ourselves, trying to bring the news to the people. So is
All
what it
right. And I
is.
know we plan to have a larger discussion on mainstream media, mainstream Black media, with the Byron Allens and Oprah Winfrey's, see where that goes. But in this instance, there just really wasn't a lot of content. I saw them interview a lot of Black people about the double standards, the clear double standards that we could see between the way BLM protesters and these domestic terrorists at the Capitol were treated. But that was about it for me. So, have you seen some of these other videos of the damage that was done? Let me just show you this one: ransacking of an office. This is supposed to be the
Mhm.
securest building in the nation, I would think, or well, the Pentagon, besides maybe the Pentagon, and they're just able to come in and just have their way with it. And one of the reasons I saw this on Twitter also, saying that officials said the restrictions on the DC Guard were put in place in part because city and Pentagon leadership did not want a large military presence after Trump ordered a mass military response to racial justice protests in the nation's capital this summer, prompting a public outcry when military helicopters flew low over protesters, surveillance assets hovered over the city, and residents were left with a sense that the district was being occupied or was under siege. So they're saying that they didn't even want the extra military presence there. They thought they could handle it, I guess maybe because they were, dealing with their own kind. Um, but again, that's a double standard. But I guess we have to wait until the next time, Black people, or there's another Black movement, another Black protest out there, to see how they react and what type of military response. But it will be a different president. So, I mean, I guess that's comparing apples and oranges.
We will see. We will.
How much of that do you believe that they, didn't want people to experience the same type of feelings of anxiety of being under siege as they, you know, felt during the BLM protests?
Yeah, well, look, I just have to go by what happened at that particular time and compare it to what has happened with, as you mentioned, the BLM protests and the like, and they were just treated differently, So that's just the bottom line to it. So we'll see. I'd be very interested in how this would work out if and when Biden is in office. If he's going to treat these individuals who, and I think I don't want to quote what he called the people who stormed DC, the Capitol, these terrorists, um to see how he treats them, his administration and the law enforcement at this particular time under Biden. It's going to be very interesting.
I did see another clip, on TV. He did come out and, he condemned them. He called them thugs. So there's that, uh, I
All
guess.
right.
So let me share my screen to see some of the articles that are out discussing this incident. Okay, we already talked about Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer. They want to invoke the 25th Amendment on Trump. Police rejected offers of help before the riot. So they rejected offers of help. Maybe that's because they thought they could handle it because they knew they would be dealing with white people. Let's see. Here's one here. Pol- Capitol Police Chief announces resignation after Trump riots. So somebody's being held accountable. Capitol Police Chief Stephen Sund said Thursday that he will resign later this month after his police force failed to contain mobs who tried to prevent Congress from ratifying President-elect Joe Biden's victory. His resignation letter came hours after Speaker Nancy Pelosi called for him to step down.
Wow.
Well,
Well,
that's some accountability, huh?
yeah, I guess that's better than nothing, you know? I mean, who knows what's going on? It's just crazy.
Just
Who
crazy, just
knows?
crazy. And let's see here. Also, several other of Trump's cabinet members are leaving after that. Several White House officials have handed in their resignations after pro-Trump mob stormed U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday. On Thursday, Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao announced her resignation, becoming the first to leave President Trump's cabinet since the attack. Trump's former chief of staff, Mick Mulvaney, and top European Russian official on the National Security Council, Ryan Tooley, were also among those who resigned on Thursday. Others, including First Lady Melania Trump's chief of staff, Stephanie Grissom, quit on Wednesday. And the list goes on and on. A lot more names have come out since I found this article. But I mean, we're what, 2 weeks out? 2 weeks out before Trump is no more anyway. So um what's it really gonna matter?
Yeah, well, it's not. I mean, he could, I guess, cause a little bit more havoc, but at this particular point in time, you know, he's coming to an end. His reign is coming to an end, and I guess people can't wait, till it happens. But as far as the ADO's perspective, regardless if it was Biden or Trump in office, we still have a lot of work to do, and we just need to be on our ones and twos, you know, cross our T's, dot our I's. So yeah, unfortunately, this incident happened. Didn't even make sense why it happened, but it is what it is, and crazy people will do what crazy people will do. Hey, we live in America. As I said on the banner, sanity and craziness. Unfortunately, that's kind of the duality that's happened, since the existence of humankind, but especially here in America. It's like, we'll go for a certain point of time, throughout the history of America, and then something always happens. Like something always happens. Something's going to happen with Biden too, but it just seemed to happen more with the Trump because he's definitely an instigator.
An instigator, and he incites them and emboldens his team. Oh, there's another article that I wanted to pull up regarding that. So let me share my screen again. Okay, this article was from December 19th, I believe. Yeah, December 19th published. Trump promises wild protest in Washington, D.C. on January 6th. Claims it's impossible that he lost. So he incited them to do this. He got them all juiced up on it. It sounds like to me starting back in December. So I guess we don't have to worry about that with Joe Biden. I don't think he's gonna inspire anybody to do much of anything.
Yeah, he just he's going to be the president of the United States of America. So he has to, no matter what, how much we think he's not going to be an inspiration to America, he has to inspire America, right? Or else he's going to get ran over. And, that just, I don't think that can happen. Or, maybe Vice President Kamala might, step up, put a little spark
Okay, well,
in
it
Joe
just sounds
Biden.
like you're over it and you're ready just to get back to this fight on reparations and the Black agenda.
Yep.
Yeah, and I was talking to somebody and he said that he knew somebody that was going out there to DC to riot and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, I don't even have a dog in the fight. I really couldn't even care less. And he's like, you're an American. You do have a dog in this fight because you're an American. And I was like, yeah, well, I really don't care.
Not our problem, buddy. Guy, you go do that. So
All
yeah,
right,
so it's unfortunate,
so
but we have bigger fish to fry, and we're gonna try to fry some up.
okay, but as far as how the media handle it, back to our original topic, how the media handle it, I know they, just showed us what was out there. We're seeing a lot more, media just because everybody has a cell phone, so everybody's putting videos out there. But do you think that showing this type of chaos and destruction and not insubordination, but just lawlessness has an impact to the rest of the world? Showing, I mean, does it make them disrespect America?
I mean, that's a good question. I mean, I think we should actually have somebody, internationally, to come on, the program to, see what they think. Maybe a couple people, um, which would be interesting. I don't. I mean, that's a good question. I don't know. I think it will definitely. I mean, based on the media coverage, I could guess that it looks like America is going under. It's going crazy right now, and there's nothing that unfortunately anybody
Does it
internationally
make
can
us look
do.
weak to the rest of the world?
I think in a way it does. I think it also makes us look unorganized. Like we're just not a very organized country at this particular point. Like And that's just basically due to Trump, not conceding, to the fact that Joe Biden, won. And so now he's creating chaos, and this is where we're at right now. Gonna be 2 weeks of probably more chaos if Trump gets a chance to tweet.
Well, things are definitely quieter today. So maybe from here on out, it will be a peaceful transition. Oh, you're welcome, Cheryl. My pleasure to bring you this media. Thank you for your question there. So, if anybody else has anything to add, I know Rita says that she wished they would have tore more stuff up. America deserves to be dismantled. That was kind of Michi X's stance, but
That's hilarious.
you know, okay.
All
Well,
right.
with that, then, I mean, I think that's all I have. I did pull up a statement here from Obama. I don't know if it's even worth reading, but while we're here, history will rightly remember today's violence at the Capitol, incited by a sitting president who has continued to baselessly lie about the outcome of lawful election as a moment of great dishonor and shame for our nation. But we'd be kidding ourselves if we treated it as a total surprise. So he goes on to say how, Trump has been stoking this fire for a while and it was to be expected, but he really didn't come out and condemn um, the terrorists. And so that was kind of what the people on Twitter were saying is, oh, he would have been calling black people thugs. He would have been calling them names. He would have been doing that. So again, is that a double standard even in the statements that are coming out from um, prominent officials and elected officials?
Yeah. I mean, I think that at this point it's going to be a rhetorical
A rhetorical question. It's
question.
all double standards. So we just have to
It's
see how that changes moving forward. Now that everybody can see clearly that these double standards exist. There's no more denying it. I think after this, there's no more denying it.
Yep, that is true. Hopefully, for other Americans, we'll see the same way as ADOS is seen, for past 400 years. So we can, go forward and try to get these reparations.
All right, all right. Well, that's definitely the focus. So we will be back for 2021 with more content. Again, I'm looking forward to really following the AB 3121 forming of the task force, and hopefully be able to get in and get some media on that, since we have to be our own media to keep ourselves informed on issues that are important to us. Yeah. Am I excited about the new year? I don't know what to expect in the new year. I'm just hoping that it's not any worse than 2020,
Yep.
because things
Yeah.
are really just still very uncertain. So I don't know whether to be excited or uh, to go hide somewhere until it's all over.
Well, before we get out of here, because I know we usually wrap up within the hour. I did want to share my screen, and I don't know if anybody actually, I probably won't even share my screen. I just wanted to briefly, maybe somebody in the comments could let us know about Warnock and Ossoff. I heard it's official that Warnock will definitely, or he's presumed to be the senator over in Georgia. But for Ossoff, I think they're still counting the votes in for him. I could be incorrect about that, but I don't know if anybody in the chat has confirmed if Ossoff has won or not. And if
Is
not, if
anyone
somebody knows,
excited? I mean, I know we're excited that the Dems took the Senate. I guess, are we excited that the Dems took the Senate?
yeah, That's I
Anyone?
don't know.
Anyone? Anyone?
Yeah, I don't. If somebody in the comments could say something. Yeah, I don't. Who knows? I mean, I
I mean,
guess.
I've just been seeing, talking points that Warnock doesn't really have any ADO specific policies, and it might just be another, what do they call it, dark faces in high places type scenario. But I mean, we shall see.
We shall. We shall see.
All right.
So I think
Well,
that's about it, family.
yeah. Well, thanks for joining everybody tonight. 2021 already said, hold my beer. I know this is how we get started, so I don't even know what to expect for the rest of the year. But with Sleepy Joe, I'm sure he'll be lulling people to sleep, left and right. Um, as long as we don't lose focus on our reparations, you know, we'll be on task for the new
Yeah.
year.
Yeah. Next show, I think we're gonna do focus on media specifically next week, and really get into what media is and the propaganda behind media. We actually were going to do it this past Tuesday, but we definitely want to take a hiatus. Unfortunately, uh, this week's incidents brought us out of hiatus, and we wanted to, see what the family thought about it, because this is a dang shame, and we just wanted to see what was up with the fam. So, um, hopefully, the next couple weeks coming out with Joe Biden, we'll be following up with the fam, and hopefully get to hear from y'all to see when Joe Biden, gets confirmed officially in the United States office, him and Kamala Harris. But outside of that, family, thanks for showing up. We appreciate y'all for tuning in. And I think, Kim, if you want to take us out or if you have anything else to say, till next time, peace.
The only thing I'd say on the media topic, since we are apparently our own media, is anybody out there with thoughts on getting, the youth involved, the younger generation? That's who I want to start working with. The pipeline, getting them involved and telling their stories and how they impact them. So that's really going to be one of my focuses going into the new year, is how to pay it forward to the pipeline and get them creating their own media, telling their own stories.
Yeah, definitely. And hit us up at ADOCA Media Group at gmail.com. That's ADOCA Media Group at gmail.com. If any youth or if anybody is interested in participating on this platform.
Yeah, join the team. All right. And with that, I will bid you all good night and see you next time. Let's see. Holt Warnock accountable. Stuff respirations down his throat. We are coming for our check, MLK. I mean, I think we'll end on that note. Good
Yep.
night.
Salute.